Chris Cuomo with 2 hours next.
Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation. All in on the historic fires, absolutely overwhelming Los Angeles. Live shots like this are everywhere, showing the worst fires in Los Angeles history. How so? In terms of destruction of buildings and acres burned, the worst thing that I have to tell you tonight is we haven't seen anything yet. We need to reset what we're dealing with here because the scope and scale is unlike anything we have seen. The coverage has become a little frenetic. People chasing around to show things that are the most demonstrative of a moment, the most famous person, the houses of this. That is the spectacle part of this. But there is something much more important to understand. The scope and scale of this challenge. The number that means the most right now is 0. We are nowhere in this battle in terms of containment. Every one of these fires is 0, 0, 0. Why? Because they're all expanding. And we don't have a clue at this point when it even starts to get under control. And I'll explain why in a moment. But know this right now. I have never seen a situation accelerating the way this one is. And not because the rich and famous and fancy houses are involved, but because we are now seeing multiple wildfires, essentially, burning through populated areas like these in California. And I've covered fires there and all over that state and the country for decades. So for the next 2 hours, we're going to unpack a catastrophe that's going to be remembered a long time. I can't even tell you what this story will be remembered as at this point because we are nowhere near the end of it. The current state of play, 6 separate fires that I just had up, and we'll keep showing you them because the numbers are changing as they expand. The number of fires in Los Angeles County and Ventura County, California, will likely expand. Why? I'll tell you why. With every other data point of distress, the people now we're at 5 people who've lost their lives, that's going to end. The homes are going to be in the thousands, other buildings, the acreage. They're all responding to the same data point, the wind. Now, when people are looking at all of these scenes, there seems to be something missing. Where are the first responders? Well, know this. There are thousands of men and women working around the clock and pouring into the area from all over the country and other countries soon to help where they can reach and with what they can withstand, okay? The reason they're overwhelmed, the reason the fires are growing in a way that we have rarely seen in terms of number and intensity and reach is that they are each and all being turbocharged by winds that are too much for everything and everyone. As of right now, 150,000 residents have been ordered to evacuate. That will go up. Again, 5 lives have been lost. That number is going to change, okay? A significant number of injuries. Again, will change. Do not become fascinated in terms of measuring this story by numbers. They will all wind up being of a scale that we have not seen before. 30,000 acres have been destroyed. Again, that number is already old. 1,000 homes, it's going to triple or more. Why? We're at 0%, and the winds are going to be sustained for a significant amount of time. You have more than 1 million people without power. The distress is going to grow. This is a time to come together and pay attention. On this screen, you're going to see 2 things all night long, okay? 1, I am getting your messages on this. We're getting them in the newsroom. We're getting them online. I know there are so many people out there who are desperate to know about loved ones, about their homes, that the cell service isn't working, which makes perfect sense. Call the number. We will be tracking anything we can and connecting people along the way. This is not a one-day story. So as people call in and you have concerns, I'll be sharing them. If people are in an area, I know it sounds a little local, but this is a local story that's just going to blow up all over the country in terms of understanding and concern. Now, we are very fortunate at NewsNation in terms of how we can cover this. Our parent company, Nexstar, owns the most TV stations in the country. One of them is KTLA, which is such a formidable team with a massive footprint in this area of California. So they are out there, and we will be simulcasting with our sister network, and we have resources that others are not going to be able to match, and we're going to need it now. There's so many different stories to tell in so many different places, okay? Now, context. The last time LA saw a fire even close to this was in 2008. All right, that was in the Sylmar neighborhood of Los Angeles. Burned through 12,000 acres, destroyed 600 buildings. They're already past this, and we're just a few days in here, okay? Just one day, the Palisades fire, just one of the fires, destroyed 16,000 acres. That's bigger than the entire island of Manhattan. More context. Let's look at the list of the worst in U.S. history, okay? You got Wisconsin at the top of the list, 1871, 1 million acres, 1,500 people. Now, I hope we get nowhere near that, but you can't say where we're going to be now. The only thing we have going for us is that the evacuations are ahead of the burn for now, okay? Then you have another set of lake fires in Minnesota and Wisconsin in 1918, 250,000 acres, 400 people killed. I'm just giving you these as suggestions of potential scale and scope that we've seen before, okay? Because in doing a little research, that one, another one in Minnesota, the one in Michigan that burned 1 million acres, you know, these all happened at a time when people were a lot more spread out than they are now, okay? The worst fire in this state's history, California's, is the Camp Fire. Burned 153,000 acres, killed 86. Now, that's the number to watch, because if these winds sustain and the ability to get in the air, so what is the wind doing? It's turbocharging the fires, of course, right? It's making it hard to fight these fires because you can't fight them from the air with desiccants and other things that they can drop, and water. Water is an issue. And I'll get to that later in the show about how there's political intrigue around that. I think listening to the people on the ground who are the experts, and we're about to speak to one right now, it's much more about the demands than it was the reserve. But we'll have plenty of time to debate that, because we're nowhere now because of the Santa Ana winds. They are just unusually consistent and persistent right now. So, Santa Ana winds. High pressure system just north of Los Angeles moving clockwise, and a low pressure system in Arizona moving counterclockwise. Now, what's going to happen? Counterclockwise and clockwise, you get a wind funnel. You get a tornadic effect, okay? That goes into Southern California from the high altitude desert. The movement causes the air to heat up, dry out, and speed up. So you're getting gusts now up to 100 miles an hour. Again, just think turbocharge. Nothing fuels fire like air. Not the amount of fuel, not the amount of space, it's the air. And the air is doing the most damage. The winds caused everything that we're seeing right now, and will continue to call it. Will it abate? Yes. When? We don't know. There was an earlier report that tonight, that there would be a letdown tonight. We now don't know that that's true. So let's now start talking to people who are on the ground, who are fighting this situation, okay? Remember, though, you need help. You need to get out. Your phone is still working. You don't know where loved ones are. You don't know where. Call the number. We'll try to coordinate as best we can with people on the ground. You want to help? You see the bottom right corner of your screen? How to help the victims of the LA wildfires. They're nowhere near being ready to take in help, but that's going to be the place. If you want to start getting involved in this, that's where you go. Just scan the QC code right there. Now, let's deal with the situation on the ground. California Fire Battalion Chief Brent Pasqua deals with us right now. Chief, thank you for your patience. Thank you for what you're doing with your men and women on the ground right now. What do you want people to understand about the state of play where you are?
You know, like you said, this fire was supercharged with those Santa Ana winds. I know we have Santa Ana fires, and they're not this devastating. This one the speed seemed to double. I saw trees being uprooted, roofs being peeled off of sheds. They weren't even on fire yet, but we had fire all around us. That was being spread with hurricane-like winds. So it was really eye-opening to see just how powerful these winds were.
Do you have what you need? What are the variables that are making it a challenge?
You know, we're getting as many resources as we can get from throughout the state of California. We can always use more, especially with this strength of wind. We could put an engine at every house and still have trouble with these 80-mile-an-hour gusts that we're seeing here on this fire. So the more the better. We'll take as much as we can get. I know there's more resources on their way as we speak.
How big of a factor is it that the winds are keeping aircraft from doing that important work of dumping desiccant and water on hot spots?
Yeah, that's another factor as well, is we can't get our planes up in the air to drop. It's just not, the retardant's not making it to the ground. That plays a huge part in helping put these fires out, to slow them down so that our ground troops can catch them on the ground. Right now, we're just trying to get people out of the way and save lives.
Let me ask you something, Chief. And I don't like to often go in this direction with people who are first responding as you are, but where is your head and heart in terms of what you're about to deal with for the coming weeks?
Well, you know, being here on the ground, seeing the devastation, talking to the people that live here, it's hard to keep your head in the game. That's what I'm paid to do. That's my job. Just listening to their stories, having to tell them their house isn't there, that hurts. But I still have a job to do. We all do. We've been on this fire for over 24 hours now. We don't want to go rest. We don't want to go sleep. There's no way I could get any rest knowing this fire is still doing what it's doing. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of work from everyone involved.
Have you ever seen anything like this or fought anything like this?
You know, I think back in my career, 2003 in San Diego, the Cedar Fire was very similar to this. Bent car doors open if you would let it go out of your hand, 80-mile-an-hour gusts. But it's been that long. It's been over 20 years since I've seen anything like this, and it's devastating to watch.
I remember that fire and how you guys were dealing with fire nados. We were introduced to fire nados then, where it was funneling up into the sky. And I understand that you're dealing with that now, that the fire is jumping roads and seems to almost be like making human type choices of where to go.
Right. It's so unpredictable, and it's so hard to fight this stubborn fire. You have to prepare. You have to look around yourself, see what's above you. There's light poles that are being blown over. They're not even being affected by the fire. It's just the wind. There's trees falling down into the roads. So many hazards. But like I said, we're going to be out here to do what we can.
One last question and then an offer. The last question is, do you have any sense of when the winds die down in the near term that will make a difference in terms of getting assets into the air?
You know, we've had a false sense of hope come and go. They'll die off and we'll think, oh, this is it. This is where we anchor in, get some containment. And then boom, we're right back to the really gusty 50, 60 mile an hour winds. I heard that we were going to maybe slow down tonight, but it doesn't feel like it. As I talk to you now, it still feels like it's starting to pick up. So unfortunately, I can't foresee when these winds are going to stop.
And Chief, here's the offer. I'll make sure that the producer gives you my cell phone. Anything that you guys need, anything you want people to know, we're a call away and we're pulling for you. And we thank you.
Amazing, Chris. Thank you for your support.
All right. God bless. Be safe. You and the boys and the girls, all the best. All the best. We'll be a call away. Be safe. Drought conditions. All right, that's the chief. Let's let him do the job. This is the mayor now, starting her press conference. Let's listen in to what she has to say.
10 acres. 12 minutes later, it was at 200 acres. To those who fled their homes, especially those who have lost your homes, our hearts are breaking for you, and we stand with you. I know the world is looking at images of our city's devastation. I have seen the front lines of the Palisades fire, and it is staggering. I've been in constant contact with our fire commanders, with county, state, and federal officials. I took the fastest route back, which included being on a military plane, which facilitated our communications. So I was able to be on the phone the entire time of the flight. We are fighting for you and everyone in Los Angeles. Thank you to our first responders who waded into flames, pulled people from cars, and got them to safety no matter how dangerous. And thank you to everyone who heeded our warnings to evacuate. Tonight, more people may get evacuation orders, And if they do, please leave immediately. If you have an evacuation warning, get ready to go. Protect yourself and each other and support our firefighters on the front lines. Our strategy included preparations and pre-deployment, and it now includes fire crews from around the state and from our federal partners. We are also adapting in real time. These winds continue to blow. So let me be clear. I am making sure that we leave no resource untapped. Firefighters are now on scene from across the state and across the country. I spoke with President Biden today and Governor Newsom earlier today, and they assured me of full federal and state support. As we head into tonight, we are still facing strong and erratic winds. In Palisades and in Sylmar, we are very much in an active firefight. I can report to you that the Woodley fire, however, in the Sepulveda Basin is under control. I can also report that finally air operations have resumed, and that is a big deal, but it is up to the winds as to how long the air support can continue. But these conditions are highly volatile. We've seen a devastating fire in the Pasadena area. Fires have sparked up in Simi Valley and on the LA and Ventura County line. And as our firefighters do battle on the front lines, all of us must be vigilant. So if you receive an evacuation order, please leave immediately. If you receive a warning, get ready, protect yourself and protect each other, and don't divert firefighters from our strategy. Signals are out and the roads have debris. So stay off the roads unless you are evacuating or have another emergency. Be prepared, food, water, medicine, a bag packed and ready. Again, this is an active situation. And conserve water to the extent that you can. We want to make sure that we are ready if we need more water. But make no mistake, Los Angeles will rebuild stronger than ever. Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this. Through the heroism of our firefighters, the vigilance of Angelenos, and the spirit of our city. This is a big moment. It is a big moment for all of us to come together, for Angelenos to be united, for Angelenos to be prepared to help each other. This is who we are. LA will rise, and make no mistake, I am confident that we will rebuild. And with that, I would like to introduce LA County Board of Supervisor Chair, Catherine Barker.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank you for your leadership. I know when this first hit, we were in constant contact, so thank you for being a true leader to...
Dusty, do me a favor, monitor the Board of Supervisors, see if there's any contradictory information that she's offering up to the mayor, because I got to tell you, I can't match. She should have the best information. I can't match with my sources what she's saying about what's under control. And look, and I get the political pressure, as I'm sure you can at home, to want to give some good news when you're supposed to be in control. But you got to be careful in situations like this not to get ahead of the progress, because then you're setting people up, one, for disappointment, but also it's dangerous because people may try to go back. You understand what I'm saying? I can't match what the mayor was just saying, but she should have the best information. So, Dusty, keep monitoring that. I want to keep giving us a sense of what's going on. Put up the map first of which the fires are. Now, there's Nancy Lou. She's at the Eaton fire, okay? That one has been very active and spreading. So let's get her right now. She's, of course, our West Bureau correspondent. She's been here since they broke out. She's in Altadena, right? That's called the Eaton fire. It's grown more than 10,000 acres literally overnight. Nancy, what's the current and how you doing?
Oh, and I'm doing great. And Chris, just to give everyone kind of an idea of this area, Altadena is at the foot of the San Gabriel Mountains. It's north of Pasadena. You know, when you watch the Rose Bowl and you see the beautiful San Gabriel Mountains, that's where we are. And this area is beautiful. We're outside. We're next to one of the many, many fires here in Altadena. This home we've been watching for the last hour or so. We've watched the roof cave in. We watched the front wall fall down, and we've seen no firefighter attention on it. As you've been noting, they are so busy, so overstretched. Earlier, we saw a fire crew down the block here. They were putting water on a house, and they told me, they were LAFD, and they told me that they are being very judicious with the water. And what they're doing is trying to contain and prevent spread and try and protect structures when they can. But the water situation, it is serious. It is dire. And, you know, trucks are finding water wherever they can. And it is hard to find because there are so many trucks trying to fill up and not a lot of hydrants that still have water to fill those trucks. It's just a horrible situation, Chris. And here in Altadena, I can tell you this Eaton fire, we can confirm it's 0% contained.
Yeah. Two things. One, Nancy, you're a pro. I've watched you work a long time. You know that with this kind of wind, you got to be very careful about your location for you and the team, because what's behind you can very well be in front of you in 2 seconds. So pay attention and let me know if you want to jump. Second, what is your understanding from the first responders about why water is such a precious resource? Because that is an emerging narrative here. I am told by first responders that they're fighting wildfires in populated areas, and they're just not set up for that. There's an alternative version, which is the state wasn't properly prepared for this. What are you hearing?
There is quite a political game going on, but on the ground, the reality of it is, you know, nobody is talking about that. They're wanting attention on their properties. They want that water on their properties. Now, the crews are telling me, you know, they're getting it where they can. Another problem, Chris, is that a lot of the reservoirs where the tankers pick up the water, I know in the Palisades area, the reservoir, they used it up in fighting early on the fire. So the tankers, and another issue is that it's been so windy that they haven't been able to use the tankers. So we only saw out here about 2 or 3 helicopters doing drops, and that was such a positive sign, and it was uplifting downtown. And I can tell you, downtown Altadena, much of it is gone. Downtown Pacific Palisades, much of it is gone. I walked through that area. The bank is gone. Italian restaurant is gone. Here in Altadena, you know, a bank is gone and the pizzeria is gone. It's just really heartbreaking to see, and the devastation is everywhere, Chris.
And yet you're going to have to hold the emotion in reserve, because we have no idea how long it will be until people can even think about going back into the area. Right now, they're still in the emergent phase of getting out of there. And Nancy, I want you to be aware as well. I know you are an intrepid reporter, but please think about your safety first and stay ahead of that fire. I'm here. Let us know when you want me to come back to you, but please put your safety first, okay? Thank you very much for checking in with us. I'll talk to you again soon.
Will do. Will do.
All right. You know, you get different points of view on what matters to people in this. Having done it so long in the field, I mean, I got to tell you, it's a little weird for me not to be there, but frankly, given the conditions, I can't really show you any more during my broadcast than this one shot. So I can't really be in contact with people the way I am from here. Now, that may change. If the scale of this continues to grow, I'm not going to be able to not go personally. It'll drive me crazy. But it's hard to cover from the ground because you're so trapped in one area, okay? Now, this water thing you're going to be hearing a lot about, and people are playing with it for political advantage, which is just disgusting, given the context that we're in right now. But I will be talking about it throughout the night as we develop an understanding of what the truth is, okay? I want to bring in NewsNation senior national correspondent Brian Enton, who's at the site of the Palisades fire, okay? That was the original burn. It has burned more than 15,000 acres just since yesterday, largely because of the winds that you can hear whipping over Brian's head right now. And if the cameraman tilts up a little bit, you will see how it is blowing embers all over the place. Brian, watch your back where you are right now and tell us the situation.
Yeah, it's an awful situation here in the Palisades, just driving around all along Sunset Boulevard. We've gone up so many streets and so many of them look like this. I mean, there's just houses on fire and there's no firefighters coming to help. You don't really see any firefighters around here. I just saw a truck drive by, but they don't have any water. Actually, there is a truck that's coming around the corner right now. We've watched this house burn down for the last half an hour, so I don't know if they're just going to pass by, if they've got water. We'll see here in a second. There's a wreath on the door. It's just heartbreaking. You think about these families. Hopefully they stop. Let's see if they're going to stop. They might not have water. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think they're stopping. That's the thing. These guys don't have water. They have to go back down to the bottom of the hill to try to get water. But the problem is this house was on fire, and then we watch it spread to the house next door, and then an ember will go across the street and catch another house on fire. So it just goes on and on and on. And you've got people who fled, who still don't know the condition of their homes, and it's going to be very, very sad when they get back up here, because I would say, I don't know, in these areas it seems like at least 90% of the homes are either on fire or have already totally burned, Chris.
Yeah, and listen, it is so easy for me to sit in the chair and say, hey, at least they got out, at least they're alive. That is true, but when you lose everything and you have nothing to go back to, rebuilding life is very hard, and of course we all move on, right? Because we go to the next story, and that's just when the struggle begins for everybody who's trying to recover. Hopefully we'll be smart enough to do it a little better this time. Brian, stay safe, you and the team. You tell me when you want me to come back to you when you have something that's worth the risk to show us, okay?
All right, thanks, Chris.
Right, be safe, brother. And also, we're going to take a break now. I want you to understand a little bit of context, okay? I know this is true for Brian, and it's certainly for me and all of us here at NewsNation. Nobody's blaming the first responders, okay? They are overwhelmed. And the idea of, well, but they didn't stop. Well, what were they going to do? Toast marshmallows? You know, there are so many structures that they are going to be watching things burn. And you know who that's hardest for? Those first responders who've left their homes and their families to go protect others. I've been with those guys and the women who do the job as well. Nobody wants to be involved more than they, often putting their own lives at risk and losing their lives. We've told those stories again and again and again. There is nothing they can do as long as the wind is doing what it's doing. There's not enough water on that side of the country to be dealing with this, especially when you can't deal with it above. Again, the easiest way to understand it is imagine a wildfire in populated areas. They usually just touch a populated area, right? And then there's a back burn and they find ways to redirect it. They can't do that here, at least not now. So this story literally is just beginning and moving faster than any of its kind I've watched because of this weird marriage of wildfire in densely populated areas. Why it happened this way, when it will stop, we still don't know, all right? A lot of people have lost their homes. A few have lost their lives. That number is going to go up. The team has been in touch, okay? And we'll share some of their stories, and we'll try to connect people with information about people and places that they're concerned about. Let's take a quick break, and then please come back and join NewsNation as we come together to watch one of the biggest catastrophes in our country's history. NewsNation's continuing coverage of the catastrophe that is the Los Angeles area right now, dealing with fires that they've never seen before, and we are nowhere near the end. It is a little too easy to get caught up in the drama of the pictures and of the statistics, and remember, at the end of the day, the only thing that matters are the people. I want to bring in 77-year-old Josie Papik. She's lived in the Palisades for 38 years. Her home is gone. Her son, Jimmy, is with her. Thank God you two are together and are okay. And Josie, you tell me how much solace that is with the loss that you've experienced.
I still can't imagine driving up there, not seeing my home, everything, all my memories. All I have left of my husband is this shirt and his ashes. I couldn't bring them with me. Everything's gone. I lost 2 pets. I have nothing left. Nothing. It's all gone. It's all gone. And I can't imagine what it's going to be like when I go back up there to see my home. What home? It's like I'm in a cloud someplace watching from above, looking down. There's no words to explain how I feel. It just hurts. Everybody tried so hard. We never thought the fire was going to make it to us in town. I lived 4 houses from the fire station, and the fire station burned down. I had sprinklers on my house that my husband had put in to protect our home. That didn't help. It's just, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's just beyond devastation to see everything's gone. I was told, one of my grandsons went up there and he told me all that's left is a cast iron frying pan from where my kitchen was at. That's all that's left of my home. All my memories. Everything.
Jimmy, where are you guys now?
I'm at my son's house. He lives in Mar Vista. It's about 5 miles from...
It's about 3 miles from Palisades.
Yeah.
Are you guys safe there, or is it coming your way, or what's the concern for you?
The concern for us is just the air. The air is pretty heavy. I mean, it's you feel it in your lungs. It's hard to breathe. And just the dark skies. That's about it. It's windy. Yeah. But it's mostly just the air quality is pretty bad.
Yesterday, during the day when I was packing my car, my doors were rattling. I thought somebody's trying to break into my house, and my doors were rattling. And I could hear the wind whistling. Like, I've never heard anything like that with those Santa Ana winds. It was literally whistling and coming down through the chimney of my house. I could hear the wind coming in. My barbecue fell over. I mean, that's a big, heavy barbecue. It fell over. It was nothing I've ever seen. And when I left last night at 9 o'clock, the embers were huge, and I was trying to stomp them out so they wouldn't catch my next door neighbor's yard on fire. And and the police were already up and down the street telling us to get out. And I could already see the houses on fire across the street from me, and the Huntingtons. I already saw that, and houses behind me, and the Alphabet Street's gone. So the whole street's
Josie,
gone. As far as I've been told, the Palisades don't exist.
Let's do this. Instead of talking about what's gone, let's talk about for a second. Let's talk about what remains. I know you're so upset because of your husband's ashes, but you have your memories, and I want you to share some. Tell us about your husband, so at least you'll be able to have this. We'll send you the interview so that you'll be able to have something to remember. You and Jimmy, tell me about your husband. Tell me about who you're missing and what we need to know about him.
He was a plumbing contractor, 40 years. 30 years plumbing contract. We bought that house. We could barely afford the house when we bought it. And we sold and did everything we could to rebuild the house that would be our life, our forever home. And he traded cars. We did everything we could to afford to build our house out of our pocket. And he was so proud of that home. And my son worked on it. And everybody, we traded with people. My staircase was built because my husband traded with a man for an El Camino truck to build my staircase. I mean, that's how the house was built. I have 32 grandchildren. This is my grandchildren's home to come to Mam's house. And they can't believe it. They're in tears because their Mam and Papa's house is gone where they grew up in. My son grew up there. My 2 of my daughters, all our memories are all there. My husband,
wait a minute,
hardworking man,
Josie.
Always did for his family. The home, everything was family and home, and it's all gone.
Josie.
I have no memory.
Josie.
I mean, I've got a shirt, and that's it. They couldn't find my grandson. Tried to find his urn. He couldn't find it. It's gone. You know, it's
I'm
just,
trying to interrupt
I
you.
built the house. I helped build
for
the house.
one reason. Jimmy.
All our family memories. You know, we just have our memories. We built the house, and we just really, just really loved my dad. And it was just something that he built for our family, and it was a legacy for us.
Yeah.
And it was just hard to watch. I've seen videos of the house. It doesn't exist, and there's nothing there anymore.
I get it.
Yeah,
all the birthdays,
I get it.
all the Christmases.
Josie, it's so easy for me to have to hear this and say, yeah, but you have each other. But Josie, you just told me you have 30-something grandchildren?
30? Last count, I think it's 32 or 33 grandchildren. I have 3 children.
33? You have 3 children and 33 grandchildren?
7 of them are great.
7 of them are great. The great-grandchildren, not great people. All of them are great people.
No,
7 of them are great-grandchildren.
They're all great kids. Every one of them is an unbelievable good kid. I can't complain about one of my grandkids did this or that. They're all really good kids, all of them. I'm very proud of my children, all of them. My son's being affected. He has a plumbing business, and a lot of his business is in the Palisades. There's no more work. The phones aren't working.
Look,
last night my house
when this
blacked
is over,
out,
there's going to be a ton of work when this is over. But Jimmy, what do you think your father would say in this situation? He built the house; it was his legacy. But what do you think his message would be to you right now?
I think his message should be that he would be hurt, that to watch the devastation, what it meant to his family. But I think he would move on.
He'd rebuild, knowing him that he would rebuild the house all over again.
He was a mover shaker. He'd start to move again.
Yeah. It's just
that's
hard. It's just hard. You can't, when they start telling you to evacuate and your brain goes like noodles, you don't know what to take. What do I grab first? Of course, your photo albums and things like that. And then you see something else. Oh, I better grab that. Oh, I better grab that. Your brain doesn't comprehend. You've got to get out, and you may not ever come back again. It's gone. And then when you hear that it literally, you see pictures and it's absolutely, there's nothing there. It's all ashes. I just can't imagine. I think to myself, I'm homeless. I've got a shirt, jeans, and some tennis shoes. And that's it. I have nothing else. And yes, I have my life. I have my children. I have my family. But my home was my family. And I don't have that anymore. It's gone. It's all gone. I can't ever bring it back again. I can build a new house, but it's not the same. I don't have my home with my children that I raised. I don't have it. It's all gone. I can't ever bring it back. It's like cutting my arms off. That's what it's like, there's nothing there,
Josie, I am so sorry for what you guys are going through, but I'm grateful for you that you have the will to tell people what's going on and that you have your son and you have your family. And I look forward very much to hearing about this being over and at least your family getting a chance to rebuild and being together in doing that.
I hope so. The Palisades is a wonderful town to live in. And it's community and everybody helps everybody and everybody's friendly. And we're our own little pocket town.
I got to tell you, Chris, too, it's a local community. We lose a lot, we use a lot of the local stores and businesses in our community. I've been a contractor there for a long time. And I tell you, this really hurts the local community because we trust each other. And this is kind of even though it's so close to Santa Monica and Malibu, it's a special area that's kind of separated.
Yeah.
And it is its own community. And it really does hurt the local community and economics of the Palisades. It really does hurt all the local families and community,
I've been there. I've been there. I love it. And I look forward to being there again. As you know, once this is over, there's going to be more work than you can handle. But this part is very hard to get through. And at least you have each other. And I look forward to talking to you both again. And I wish you all good things. And I'm sorry about this. I really am.
Thanks for caring. Thank you so much, everybody, for caring about us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
32 grandkids. I mean, what a blessing. God bless, and I'm sorry for your loss. Josie and Jimmy Papik. You're going to be hearing stories like this. And it is just heartbreaking. And there are no words. And you can try to console and you can try to give people perspective. Easy for me when I'm not living it. And I've seen people go through it. I've seen people come back. But man, that is a process you do not want to have to undertake. Let's take a quick break. We'll be hearing more of these stories. There's a friend of mine who really knows what overcoming adversity is all about. And now he's got a challenge that he never expected for him and his family and his community. You'll hear all about it right after this. Welcome back to News Nation's continuing coverage. I'm Chris Cuomo. I want to check back with Brian Enton, who was reporting in front of a home in Pacific Palisades maybe 10 minutes ago. And now the entire house is gone, showing the strength of the winds and turbocharging these fires. Brian, what have you watched?
Yeah, so the fire department finally showed up. It looks like they were able to get some water. And this is what you see street after street here. I mean, there's 1,000 homes that have burned. But why I wanted to show you this, Chris, is you always hear about the electric car fires. There's a Tesla in the garage. And it just caught fire a little while ago while you were in the break. And there was a little explosion. And the firefighters who showed up seemed to be concerned because, you know, these electric car batteries really burn hot. So the issue here, I'll show you, they've tried to connect to a hydrant up here, Chris, and this is the problem. I mean, look, he's trying to, I don't think there's water in the hydrant, which is the issue they had earlier. But,
there it is.
You know, the concern here again is there water?
Yeah, it's starting to come.
Let's see. He's about
but
to get
they
going
definitely
here,
have a water problem.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
I'm surprised that they're wetting down that house, Brian, and not just the houses next to it.
Well, the houses next to it are gone, unfortunately. They've already burned, and then they caught this one on fire. But I'm interested to see, because you always hear that it's almost impossible to put these electric cars out. So it's going to be interesting to see sort of how this unfolds here.
How do the guys seem like they're holding up, the guys who showed up?
Frustrated. I mean, you look at this guy right here. I mean, look, we're just standing here telling the stories. Look, these guys are running around. They don't have masks on. They're just like running from place to place. They're trying to find water, and they're just like exhausted. I mean, imagine they've been doing this for over a day now. They're exhausted, and you mentioned it earlier. I mean, they're working as hard as they can. There's just not enough of them, and it's just there's too many fires right now.
Second only maybe to nurses. Firefighters have to be the angels among us. Of course, you have police officers, but these are the only guys and women who run into places you are supposed to run away from. You and I have seen it so many times over, but I'll tell you, the guys that we're looking at right now on the screen, this is going to be the story that they tell about their experience as a firefighter, because they will never have faced what they're going to face over the next days and who knows, maybe weeks. Again, I cannot match what the mayor was saying about one of the fires being contained and there being some progress to speak of. I can't match it. Every first responder I'm talking to everywhere says it's all getting worse. So I hope she's right. I hope she has better information. But there's not enough water in that whole half of the country to deal with what they're dealing with right now. It's not going to be water alone that solves this situation. And please, you and the team, be careful. If that Tesla goes in there, you don't want to be anywhere near it.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. I'm getting a report now from Dusty in the control room to my point. And again, it's not a gotcha point. There is no reason that there shouldn't be more fires breaking out given the sustained winds. And that's what we just got reported to us, that fires are, as a function of, we just had Ms. Popick on. I don't know, I hope you were with us when we were listening to her. She was a beautiful example of the pain, but also the resilience of what people are having to show in and of themselves right now. And she said she was stomping on embers, trying to stop them from going to her neighbors' houses. The wind has so many tools at its disposal. It makes the fire hotter, makes it burn through more materials, makes it move quicker, and the embers become its agents of destruction. And they get sent so much farther than is normally anticipated by the people trying to counteract on the ground and plan ahead. And that's why we're hearing more fires are breaking out. And with these winds, even though there has been record rainfall in California this year, so there should have been, if they were going to have water available, they should have it. We'll get into that at the top of the next hour. But these men and women in these communities, they are up against it, and they are on the losing side of this, and I don't know for how long. So let's get back to the human experience, okay? This is not how I wanted to reconnect with one of the sweetest guys I've ever met in this business. You know him from General Hospital and All My Children and GMA and all the different jobs he's had in entertainment. I know him as Cameron Matheson, one of the best athletes I've ever played ball with. A great father, a great guy. Cameron lost his home in this fire, but thank God his family's okay and he joins us now. Brother, this is not the way I wanted to reconnect, but tell us what you guys are dealing with.
Yeah, me neither, man. It's, it's always great to connect with you in any way. Obviously not particularly like this, but we're doing our best. Everybody's safe. We're handling it. It's sort of like it has for many people that have been watching the show, and everybody's getting, it's devastating, and the loss it seems very surreal. It all seems very apocalyptic. I'm going up into the zone to see what's left of our house and trying to video and trying to I've never experienced anything like it. It just doesn't feel real. And I know I'm not alone. I know there's hundreds, if not thousands of people out there and getting affected by these fires. And it's very cool to see you kind of touching base with a lot of them to share their stories too.
I'm showing people right now what you shot of your house, which is, of course, to you, devastating. How are you getting your head around that we're talking about this past tense? And while it's true for you in terms of having to rebuild the house, it's gone. I don't think this situation is anywhere near over. How are you and the wife and the kids, how are you handling that you don't know how long this goes?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. Because so that video was taken early in the morning. I had, we'd been watching the news, and then I got up around 5, and they were reporting from our block, and I could see houses going down, and it looked insane, but I couldn't see if our house was okay, and I couldn't stand it anymore. And I got my car, and I just kind of drove in through the streets. A lot of streets were blocked, but I kind of made my way up almost in the dark in the cloud. It was an insane scene. And as I came around the corner, what used to be our house, it was no longer. And it doesn't seem real. But to your point, as I'm going through, I'm passing at first, Chris, it was like fire, house, fire, driving through really quick, kind of around the corner. And then I'm getting closer to my block. And then it was more like fire, house. All of a sudden the ratio started changing. And then I'm kind of getting up onto our block. And Chris, I came around the corner, and it was like nothing was ever built there. It was literally like our block must have been, I don't know how it all works, but it must have been in a little bit of like a wind chute, because it was almost like a tornado track coming down from the mountain. Everything in our block all the way down the mountain for almost a mile was decimated, like completely gone. So I'm assuming that's the way the winds were going. Obviously, hopefully everybody got out. I think they did for the most part. Let's hope. But and we just went up. My daughter and Vanessa wanted to sort of say goodbye to what we could, and we kind of made our way back up there just an hour ago. And there's fire still going, full on. Our neighbors are out there with hoses and trying to save, and I know you're showing a lot of that as well. But it's just very otherworldly and super surreal, man.
People may not know you the way I do, famous though you are. You have a beautiful way of overcoming adversity since you were a kid. And how are you using that now, what you've dealt with before in life in terms of your health and circumstances, and what are you telling yourself now about what this requires of you and for you?
Well, first of all, thanks, man. I like a lot of people, I've definitely been through some serious adversities and worked really hard to kind of get through it and stay positive. And I think what I've learned through a lot of those, for sure, is a deep acceptance. The part of the mind, so you've got sort of the outer problem and then you've got the inner problem. The outer problem, sometimes you can do something about, but then sometimes your house is burnt down and you can't. And, the inner problem is rejecting it, or so you work with the inner problem of trying to stay peaceful and accepting and be solution oriented. So that's where I'm going with this, is I try to deeply accept. And that doesn't mean that you don't do anything about it. I do everything I can, but I'm doing it from like a place of acceptance and patience. And by doing that, for me, it allows me to be much more solution oriented and calm and kind of like just mentally more vast, it's just a wider range of possibility versus that tight mind of anger and rejection. And I can't believe this is happening. And how is this happening to me? And why me? And of course that mind comes up. Of course, these things are in my head. I'm not, but I just take a second. I try to I know what I've been through before. I know I've been through a debilitating degenerative bone disease. I know I've been through cancer that I thought at first was going to kill me. I know I've been through loss in my family and other things that have happened in my personal life that have been devastating, that, and I know, you move on. And I really do have faith that we're going to. It doesn't mean that I ignore the grief and the loss and the feelings and the anger and the sadness